Okay, well, thank you for coming today. We wanted to announce some results of a survey that we sent out last week to the Iowa superintendents. I think you all have a copy of that. Asking them, do you favor or oppose a plan by House Republicans and Governor Branstad to wait until the 2015 legislative session to set allowable growth for 2015-2016. The message from the superintendents to Republican legislators and Governor Branstad is clear. Overwhelmingly, they said, no, we need to have allowable growth set now when it's supposed to be set by law so we can plan our budgets and know what our money will be and how we will support our teachers, our kids, what our programs will be. So it was overwhelmingly, they support setting allowable growth as the law defines. One of the quotes that I thought was interesting, one of the superintendents said, frustrating that House Republicans can simply ignore the law with no consequences for their actions. As citizens of Iowa, if we ignore a law, we risk getting arrested and paying a penalty. And I think who's having the penalty right now are the students and the kids in our schools. They'll be suffering the penalty if we don't get this set for them. Quirmbach?
Well, thank you, Representative Steckman. I certainly want to agree with that sentiment. You know, ordinary citizens have to obey the law. I think legislators and elected officials should too, from the governor on down. And when the governor is asking for a 2-year budget horizon so that the state can do better planning, shouldn't we give at least that much time to our local school officials so that they can get the best educational value out of the taxpayer's dollar? That's why we are going to be supporting a 6% allowable growth. We are going to be considering that bill in the Senate tomorrow. And we are listening to our superintendents. One superintendent from South Central Iowa said, I wish I could pick and choose the rules I wanted to follow. Well, that's not the lesson that we teach to our children. It's a lesson that we should model as adults, and especially as elected officials. Another superintendent from Eastern Iowa, 2% allowable growth is a cut to education funding. Our costs go up over that. 4% is treading water. 6% would be the first real increase in years. I think our children deserve that.
Any questions?
Is it possible to get the actual names of the superintendents who these quotes are attributed to?
We can communicate with them and see if they're okay with that. If you want to pick one out, I'll contact that person and let them and ask them.
You're probably aware the governor has repeatedly said that Culver administration and Democrats have not obeyed this law in the past. What about that?
I disagree with that.
You're saying that this always has been done?
We have set allowable growth a year and a half in advance. When the Democrats had the majority in both houses, we followed the law. It's only since the Republicans have come back into control of the House that law has been flouted.
And this was not done, what, was it last year or the year before? Has this always been done just up until this year or last year? What was the...
We have followed the law throughout the time that the Democrats were in control. There was 1 year, because of the economic crisis, the mismanagement of the national economy by the Republican Bush administration, when our revenues fell so precipitously that our school superintendents came to us and said, please don't pass allowable growth this year. So we passed a bill on an emergency basis, setting that requirement aside. We obeyed the law, okay? We didn't flout it. We respected the law and addressed the issue. I think that our governor and our House colleagues need to do that again this year. We can't pick and choose what laws we obey.
I believe the House is going to take up a bill that seeks to change the law to make it more of a biennial budgeting provision rather than the forward funding that exists now. Is that something the Senate is interested in?
I'm personally not interested in going down that path. Like I say, The governor wants a 2-year planning horizon so that he can plan better for the use of taxpayer dollars at the state level. We should accord the same opportunity for our local school officials. We want to have the highest quality of education possible for our students, and our taxpayers want the greatest value for their dollar. Giving people a year and a half to plan is the way to do that.
And you can't cut things midstream. You can't tell districts in the middle of when we're supposed to be passing allowable growth, oh, wait a minute, I think we're gonna rethink this. They need to plan. They need to have as much budgetary planning as the state wants, as the governor wants. The governor's asking them to do something that he doesn't wanna do.
So you are going to pass the full bill on the House, or on, I'm sorry, on the Senate floor tomorrow?
I believe that that is the schedule, yes.
And I have 2 bills, the 6% for categorical and 6% for supplemental, that I'm sponsoring that I can't get in subcommittee.
And all three bills?
And yes, and here to be specific, we have 3 bills. One is the general allowable growth, one is the categorical allowable growth, and this year there's a 3rd bill that will have the state to pick up the property, what otherwise would have been the property tax component of that. So this is there's no implication here at all for any increase in property taxes. The state, we are proposing that the state will pick that up for the 2nd year in a row.
And you'll do all 3 tomorrow?
I believe that's the schedule, yes.
Okay, and that's all 3 total combined are 222 million?
I believe it's 222 million for the general allowable growth. I think it was about 20.9 million for the categorical, and it was 20-something million, 29 million maybe for the property tax
So
component.
it's closer to 270 or so?
Something on that order.
The best investment we can make in Iowa, in my opinion.
How do you see this resolving itself? I mean, split control, governor controls the veto pen. Right now, there's a lot of press opportunities to talk about that, but how do you see a path towards compromise, or is this not negotiable?
As far as I'm concerned, if the Republicans don't like our number, then they have to offer us their number. We haven't heard anything from them yet on that subject.
You can't totally ignore the law. I mean, they could come with a counteroffer. If they don't like the 6%, we haven't seen anything, except we don't want to do it, which is totally, as we found in the survey unacceptable to superintendents and school districts. They can't run their business that way.
2 years ago, you ended session with this issue unresolved. Do you expect that's going to happen again, given the split control?
I would hope not. I would hope people could be reasonable and understand that the most important thing we can do in this state is educate our young people and give them the skills they need to survive and to be contributing citizens to our state. Why we are shortchanging them, I as a past educator, I'm very frustrated with that. And the fact that we're ignoring our 40.1% free and reduced lunch population. We should be investing more in education.
Yeah, I think it would be a terrible message to send to the children of this state that, some people don't like the law, therefore they think that they don't have to obey it. Well, we don't teach our kids that in the schools. We tell them that there are rules, and some rules they're okay with and some rules they may not like, but they have to obey them. I mean, what message are we going to send to our children if we don't behave in the way that we ask them to behave? And of course, the other terrible message to send to the children would be that they're not our first priority anymore, all right? I mean, wise man once said, don't tell me your priorities, show me your budget, and I'll tell you your priorities, all right? We set funding for K-12 education. That's the first step in the budgetary process. We set it a year in advance. We do that because children are our top priority.
And that bill was signed into legislation in 1992 by Governor Branstad.
You're kind of flying blind a little bit in that you want to set a 6% increase in school funding, not knowing what state revenues are going to come in, what level they'll increase by if they do increase.
There's always some degree of uncertainty with regard to any revenue forecast, even 6 months in advance, all right? I think that the number that we have chosen is well affordable within any reasonable estimate of future revenue growth. Remember, we're going out 2 years, so we have 2 years of growth to be able to afford this number.
Is that it? Thank you very much for coming.